What's good, everyone, and welcome into the Bucks Film Room podcast. My name is Brian Sampson. You can find my work on Twitter at Bucks Film Room. I also write about the Milwaukee Bucks for Forbes Sports and for Dairyland Express for now. That role will be coming to an end at the end of December, but there will still be a lot of Milwaukee Bucks content that I'll be releasing for y'all, including this. I'm trying something new that I haven't done before. So I really would appreciate y'all feedback either or wherever you listen or watch or find me on Twitter. I want to hear from you, your perspective on if you think this format works. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to blend a podcast with a film room session and see if we can merge the two. So whether you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever, I'm going to try to tailor this content so that it can work for both of us. So in a little bit here, I am going to bring in some film. But for those who are listening on podcasts, I'm going to talk us through the film as well. So that way you can follow along, and you can always head over to the YouTube channel, Bucks Film Room YouTube channel, to check it out. But also I'll be walking us through verbally. So that way you can see exactly what is going on. So I'm going to give this a try. I really would appreciate your feedback on whether or not you think this format works, any tweaks. Let's see if we can make something like this work. Today, we're going to focus on the Bucks and Bulls game. Milwaukee returned to action on Monday night against Chicago Bulls. A lot of you may have missed the game with the Packers going on. That's fine. I got you. We'll go through this together. Milwaukee and Chicago went to overtime for the second straight game, with the Bucks squeaking out a 133-129 win in that extra period. This game was way too close for comfort. This is really something Milwaukee has made a habit out of this season. We're used to seeing them two things, really: dominate the Central Division, just absolutely dominate them. That has not been happening this year. I think they're 0-6 against the spread and 3-3 in the division. Don't quote me. I think I saw that on Twitter this morning. We'll have to double check that. So we're used to them dominating the Central Division. That has not been happening this year. And we're used to them dominating bad teams. Even though the Chicago Bulls had come in on sort of a win streak, they just aren't a good team. No Zach LaVine. They have kind of a hodgepodge of pieces, mismatching pieces, but they played the Bucks hard. They really brought that energy. I can't tell if I'm annoyed. So what happens is the Bucks are just this calm team that doesn't serve them well the first 43 minutes of the game, where they just look like they're going through the motions sometimes. I know that their effort energy level can be higher, but for the first 43 minutes, it just looks like they're kind of going through the motions out there, not overly invested. They look like that veteran team. They look like they're the hunted and not the hunter. Then the last 5 minutes, their calm demeanor prevails. That's why they've been one of the best clutch time teams in the NBA this season, is because they don't get too high, they don't get too low. Drives me crazy for the first 43 minutes. I wish that they would change their mindset and become the hunter instead of the hunted. I'm not going to make a deer pun, promise myself that, but I think just switching that mindset. Really, their team that lost in the first round of the playoffs last year, they have a lot to prove. So getting back to this Bulls game, it went into overtime. That's where I'm going to pick up the analysis. It was Milwaukee's offense that carried them throughout the entire game, and especially in overtime. They had 10 offensive possessions in the extra period, and they scored on 9 of them. With their only possession where they didn't score, was still a very good look. So some of the themes that we saw from this game was their ability to get to the free throw line. Their free throw rate was off the charts, and that played into their hands again in overtime, where they were able to get to the free throw line on several occasions. Granted, they have work to do in that area. They didn't knock them all down, but slowing that game down, getting to the free throw line is always beneficial. And their 122 offensive rating in this game, if you compare that to where the teams stand across the NBA, that'd be good enough for second in the NBA. So their offense really carried them in this game. It was their defense that had a lot of issues. They had a 117.3 defensive rating, which would be good for 23rd in the NBA. And this is against a Chicago team that isn't necessarily known for their offensive prowess, especially without Zach LaVine. So that's really concerning. Chicago did shoot very well from the three-point line. You could maybe point to that as being an outlier. But overall, Milwaukee struggled on defense. It was their offense that carried them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go play by play in overtime, and we're going to look at how were the Bucks able to score on 9 of those 10 possessions. Clarification: they didn't make a bucket at 9 of 10. They put points on the board in 9 of those 10 possessions, and really came down to that Giannis and Brook Lopez two-man game. They went back to that a lot because Damian Lillard had an off game. So it was Giannis and Brook show late down the stretch. And Brook Lopez has been the preferred pick and roll partner for both Giannis and Damian Lillard this year. We came into the season thinking Lillard and Giannis would want to pair up. They'd want to spam pick and rolls, spam dribble handoffs. Well, we haven't seen too much of that so far. It's really been Lopez who's been the screener for both of them that they both enjoy, and for different reasons. He brings a slow big man with him. In this game, it was Vujacic that Giannis was picking on. So he brings that slow big man with him that both Giannis and Damian Lillard can attack in different ways. So let's pick it up here with the Bucks' first possession to begin overtime. The first time the Bucks get possession in overtime is with just around 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, and Milwaukee's down by 1 point, 118 to 119. So this play gets set up with the Malik Beasley cross screen for Brook Lopez. Lopez then comes from the left side up to the right to set a ball screen on Damian Lillard. So Damian Lillard is about 5 feet behind the three-point line on the right wing with Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Malik Beasley all on the left side. Brook Lopez sets that screen going to Damian Lillard's left, and he has the entire right side of the court then cleared out for him to roll in. Lillard takes one dribble. Vooch, who's guarding Brook Lopez, comes up to the level of the screen to contest the Lillard three-point shot, and that allows Lillard to drop that pass in right over Brook Lopez. Lopez then catches it with a lot of room to work on the right side. Patrick Williams, however, who's guarding Giannis in the left dunker spot, comes over just outside the restricted area, and he tries to take a charge. But Lopez, being as nimble and athletic and agile, whatever words you want to use, being all of those things, he's able to just barely avoid Patrick Williams enough and kiss it off the glass for an easy 2 points. So that gave Milwaukee a 120-119 lead with about 4 minutes and 25 seconds remaining in overtime. Following a defensive stop, the Bucks are still up 1 point with about 3 minutes and 43 seconds remaining in overtime. On this set, Chris Middleton is bringing the ball up the left side of the floor with Malik Beasley space all the way to the right corner, Damian Lillard in the right wing, Brook Lopez trailing down the court in the right wing, and Giannis coming right up the middle of the court. Vujacic is matched up on Middleton on about the left free throw line extended area. Middleton hesitates, acts like he's going to drive to his right, retreat dribbles back to the three-point line, crosses over to his left, and then he lulls Vujacic to sleep before he hits him with a left-to-right crossover and pulls up for, it's actually a pretty well-contested shot by Vujacic, but Middleton is able to knock it down. We saw him do this so many times in the Bucks championship run. It's good to see this from Middleton at this point. He was really up and down in the game. But the bucket gives the Bucks a 122-119 lead with 3 minutes and 38 seconds remaining in overtime. The Bucks get a second straight stop on defense as we begin this clip. So Milwaukee, as a reminder, is up 122-119 with 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in overtime. Giannis grabs a rebound as we begin this clip. It takes him a second to clear it. He goes back under his basket to give him space and bring the ball up. So as he's doing that, he has two teammates to his right side, two teammates to his left side. Brook Lopez rises up from the right block to set a screen on Giannis's man. So again, Giannis is bringing the ball right up the middle of the court. Brook Lopez sets a screen going toward Giannis's right side. He's been the preferred pick and roll partner of both Giannis and Damian Lillard to begin this season, and we can see why here again. So Lillard sets that screen going to Giannis's right. It's a great screen on Patrick Williams. Williams gets hung up on it. So Giannis initially is looking to put Williams in jail and use his butt to keep him out of the play. However, he realized Williams isn't getting back into the picture anytime soon. So he heads to his left side. Vujacic he's hanging around the middle of the lane, and Giannis smartly attacks his right outside shoulder, so going toward Giannis's left. We'll see this again here in a clip or two, but it's a great way. Giannis attacks right into the body of Vujacic, right in that outside shoulder, and he draws the foul and heads to the free throw line. Following yet another stop by the Bucks, Giannis is again bringing the ball up the middle of the court. So Milwaukee is up by 5 points with just over 2.5 minutes remaining. And this is actually the only possession of overtime that they did not score in. But you can't be mad at them. They got a great shot here by Damian Lillard. So Giannis is bringing the ball up the middle of the court. Again, Damian Lillard is on his right side on the right wing, coming up the court just a little bit ahead of him, just like in the last possession. Brook Lopez rises actually to set a screen for Giannis, but this time Giannis drops it off to Lillard. Lillard catches it with a left foot and then right foot plant, like he's going to go up and shoot. He's probably about 30-ish feet away from the basket, but we all know that he's a threat from that point. So Lillard catches it, left foot, right foot, hesitates. His defender comes flying out at him. He takes one dribble to his left and gets an open three-point shot just behind the arc, and it rattles in and out. So this is really a good shot by the Bucks. Again, the only possession of overtime they didn't score. They're up 5 with about 2.5 minutes remaining. Following a third straight stop by the Bucks defense, Milwaukee comes into a half-court set with Giannis bringing the ball up the middle of the court. That's been a theme here in overtime so far. They're going to go back to the two-man game with Brook Lopez. This time, Brook Lopez is going to cut across the lane and come from the left block to set a screen on Giannis's man going toward Giannis's left side. So 2 plays ago, they went to the right. This play, they're coming from the left. Giannis squirts through right past Vujicic. This time, Patrick Williams fights through a little bit better. Giannis pauses, he really hesitates, puts his butt into Williams to try to keep him out of the play, and then he attacks Vujicic's left shoulder. That's not easy to say. Attacks his left shoulder, so going toward Giannis's right, and Giannis, he really snakes through. He gets slippery here and leans and bends and uses that length right around the defender for a layup for 2 more points, giving the Bucks a 126-119 lead with just over 2 minutes left to go in the overtime period. The Bulls finally scored, making it 126-121 with just under 1:30 left to go when we pick up here. Chris Middleton is inbounding on the sideline out of bounds on the right side of the Bucks hoop. He passes it to Giannis, who's in the right slot, and then comes and gets a dribble handoff with Giannis. Damian Lillard is in the right corner, so the Bucks are utilizing their 3 primary offensive threats on this set. So again, Giannis catches it in the right slot. Chris Middleton comes up for a dribble handoff, and that triggers Giannis to go and set a down screen on Damian Lillard's man, who is Kobe White. So White obviously has to go over the top of this screen. Lillard, who is so intelligent when it comes to basketball, understands this. He curls to the rim, and he attacks going to his left side. He gets into the middle of the paint, probably a little bit on the left side of the rim. Patrick Williams steps in to help, but not enough, as Damian Lillard rises for a huge slam. We've seen Lillard actually miss a couple of these late-game dunks. This time, he finishes the deal with authority. The Bulls scored again, making it 123-128 with 1:15 remaining as we pick up this possession. Milwaukee again is going to run their offense through Giannis, who's bringing the ball up the middle of the court once again. This time we have Damian Lillard spaced out to the right corner, Malik Beasley in the left corner, and Chris Middleton's going to roll through into the right short corner. So what do you think the Bucks come back to? Yeah, of course. They come back to their Brook Lopez-Giannis two-man game. This time, Brook Lopez sets a screen going toward Giannis's left and immediately rolls. White steps up from his man, who's Lillard, in the corner. Torrey Craig, who's guarding Middleton, who initially started in that right dunker spot, he steps up. So Giannis is able to drop the pass off to an open Brook Lopez, who's rolling, doing that slow roll that he does right down the middle of the lane. This time, Brook Lopez catches it, sees Torrey Craig right in front of him, and does this little scoop through where he takes the ball up and under Craig's arms and tries to go toward the basket, drawing the shooting foul. Craig puts a little bit extra on that foul, but you can't blame him there. It's 2 free throws for Brook Lopez with just over a minute remaining in overtime. Lopez sunk one of his 2 free throws, but the Bulls got a bucket on the other end, bringing them within 4 points with about 40 seconds remaining in the extra period. This time, Bucks are going to go right back to that two-man game with Giannis and Brook Lopez. Giannis inbounds the ball to Malik Beasley before Beasley throws it right back to Giannis. He slowly brings the ball up. I think he could have used a little bit more clock here, but he attacks right away with 19 seconds left on the shot clock. Like I said, he probably could have waited with Milwaukee up 4 points, but it ends up working. So for those listeners on podcast, what we have is Giannis brings the ball up a little bit toward the left side of half court, probably the left slot. Brook Lopez comes and sets a screen all the way just inside half court because Patrick Williams was guarding Giannis way out there. This gives Giannis a clear runway. He attacks downhill on Vujicic and going to his left hand, draws the foul, misses the bucket, but goes to the free throw line. That's really all the offensive possessions that we have to break down. For those counting at home, that's only 8 possessions. Milwaukee scored on 7 of their 8. However, these next 2 times are really just the Bulls fouling them to send them to the free throw line. So at first, they foul Chris Middleton. The second possession, they fouled Damian Lillard. So on here, on this first possession, just under 30 seconds remaining when it starts, Milwaukee's only up 3 points. So this is still game on the line, folks. They still got to go hard. Lillard inbounds it to Middleton, who passes it back to Lillard, who passes it back to Middleton. So Middleton's bringing the ball up the left side of the court here, and he tries to back down DeMar DeRozan right after half court, and he gets fouled on the play. The ref right on top of it actually doesn't call anything for some reason. It's a ref across the court. It's kind of a late whistle where it happens, but it's a clear foul. Next one, Bucks sideline out of bounds. Get it to Damian Lillard again, right across half court, or right on their side of half court on the left side. The Bulls actually try to trap him. They're not happy with the foul call, but sends Damian Lillard to the line. With this play, the Bucks were only up by 2 points with about 12, 13 seconds left to go. So he knocks these down, and that ends up being the final score of 133 to 129. It took all that Milwaukee had to pull out this victory, which it shouldn't be this hard to beat the Chicago Bulls. Giannis, Brook Lopez, and Damian Lillard all played 40 minutes or more in this contest. That's hard to do in the middle of December. They have a long season to go. They got to start figuring out how to take care of their business early, do their work early, so that way they can cruise down these victories. So that way they can rest their guys more. I mean, that maybe I'm spoiled. I'm probably spoiled. That's what we saw a lot in the Mike Budenholzer era. But Giannis finished with 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. He was 9 of 13 from the field and 14 of 18 from the free throw line. Brook Lopez had a big night with 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. And Damian Lillard was really off tonight. That's why the Bucks offense ran through Giannis and Brook Lopez in overtime, because Damian Lillard only had 14 points, 9 assists, and 4 rebounds. And he was 3 of 17 shooting. We really saw that come out in overtime, where all of the Bucks shots, besides a couple, came from Giannis or Brook. So Chris Middleton had one in overtime where he made the bucket. Damian Lillard had just one shot where he missed that 3-pointer. And Malik Beasley had no shots. Everything else was run through Giannis and Brook, their 2 bigs. Chris Middleton also played a season-high 33 minutes. So hopefully he's ramping back up there. We'll see how Milwaukee handles him here moving forward. But I think that's really it's good to have options of Chris Middleton maybe isn't quite at the spot where Milwaukee wants to run their offense in clutch time through him. We've seen him this year have a few good moments. I think he needs to continue to refine his game, get back to where he was. But when Damian Lillard doesn't have it either, Milwaukee has Giannis, a 2-time MVP who's able to get very good looks with Brook Lopez. All of those shots that they took, going downhill, attacking, being aggressive, going toward the hoop, that's what you love to see from Giannis, especially against an overmatched Chicago Bulls team who really doesn't have somebody who can match up well with his strength and speed combination. That was great to see. Up next for the Bucks, they have the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday, a rematch of their in-season tournament semifinals last week, where Indianapolis gave them trouble down the stretch. Milwaukee didn't execute as well on offense or on defense like they did in this game. Obviously, in the Bulls game, defense needed room, but they had their offense clicking. Against Indiana, it was neither. They weren't able to get either one of them going. So we'll see how that goes. We know Indiana is going to want to push the pace. Tyrese Halliburton has given Milwaukee fits in their first couple of matchups. How will the Bucks defend him? Is this going to be an Andre Jackson Jr. game, Beauchamp game? I don't know. We'll have to see, but I know the answer isn't Malik Beasley. So thank you all for tuning in. And I didn't mean to throw a random stray at Malik Beasley here to end the pod. I think he's been good on offense for the Bucks. So Malik Beasley, I know you tune into this. I apologize for that. But again, if you all could please leave your comments and feedback on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me up on Twitter at Bucks Film Room. I'd greatly appreciate it. This is kind of an experimental thing that we're doing here, and I'll roll out a couple other ones. Catch you next time.